What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to another edition of the Voice of Land right here on the Big Play Network, partnered with LPV Productions, also on the Be On Air Podcast Network. And of course, we are brought to you by Greeny Sports Cards. Greeny Sports Cards, they have their big show coming up in Independence, just about 10 days away, the weekend of the draft. And I know we have a giveaway going on with that. We will get Ryan Mosser to tell you all about that here in just a second. And of course, behind the scenes, it is the one, the only Peter Tillip, our producer extraordinaire. We are going to get into the Cavs playoffs, Guardians baseball. Yes, there is no need to overreact in April. We'll tell you why as we go forward. Of course, the NFL draft coming up. This will be our last show before the NFL draft, just due to scheduling conflicts and things like that. We may not have a show next week. We will see if we can get something pre-recorded, but most likely no show next week. And then we will, of course, try to be back the following week and have all of our draft reactions. And then we will also mention at the end some of the soccer updates in town as soccer kind of taking over the city, news-wise, taking over the city. Some good, some that we don't necessarily like as much, but we'll get into all of that as we go. But as we said, we are brought to you by Greeny Sports Cards. Reach out to them, greenysportscards.com. And Ryan, at the big show in Independence, I know, as a show, we may not be able to be there, maybe try to get out there a little bit over that weekend, but people that want to have a table there, well, or a VIP experience there, they can definitely jump in our little contest we got going on.
Yeah, attached on our Twitter right now at VTL_pod. Greenies was gracious enough to offer us 5 pairs of VIP tickets to this event in Independence coming up in about 10 days, like you said. And we're so grateful for that. We're really grateful for the opportunity just to give those away to our listeners. The VIP tickets, I mean, on the website, you can see the price on there. They're not cheap. This is really just a great gesture of Greenies, and we're excited to provide that. So just go on to our Twitter. It's the pinned tweet there. Follow the instructions. Just follow us at VTL_pod. Follow at Greeny Sports, and tag someone and you're entered. And this is really awesome if you're a sports collector, like cards, memorabilia. Kevin said last year he got a Shane Bieber signed jersey there. Tons of different things, tons of tables. This is the biggest one of the year, and you can go for free if you just go follow us on Twitter and just do our contest.
And plenty of different places are there. I know that there were some radio stations and news stations there last year as well. They had some like street team activations going on. So plenty of fun for the whole family for sure. So if at that time my 1-year-old son, just about to be 1-year-old son, could have some fun around the area, then I think that every family can find something that they enjoy. And plus there'll be some I know that there'll be some conversations up on the main stage, the big stage that they have there. Always Positive Jay, myself, we got a chance to talk to Curtis Danberg last year. We had a baseball conversation. I know that Greenies actually reached out to me, Ryan, and they said that if available, and I'm not sure that I am just yet, but the Saturday, I think they're supposed to have a lot of the Crunch players and the director of marketing, Ryan Ruiz, and they were wondering if I would lead a like a round table conversation with all them, kind of knowing them the way that I do. So we'll see if that happens. But a lot of great fun, a lot of representatives from all the teams and all over the place. It's going to be an absolute great time. So get out to us on social media. And since we won't have a show next week, Ryan, we will select and we will reach out through social media and send out a massive congratulations tweet to the person we do select, or the people we select to win a spot at the convention coming up in Independence, the field house on the campus of Independence High School, Independence City Schools there. Ryan, let's just jump right in, and playoffs are right around the corner. I know everybody's kind of feels like, oh my gosh, like why we got to wait so long. That's one of you can call it an advantage or a disadvantage of getting the number 1 seed, or at least being in the top 6 and not having to worry anymore from a couple years ago, being in that play-in tournament. And there's a play-in game happening tonight. The Heat are at the Bulls. Winner of that one then faces the Atlanta Hawks on Friday night to get a spot to take on the Cavaliers Sunday at 7. What Do you like that? Do you like the time that kind of came out for game one? I was hearing Brian Windhurst, Ryan. I was kind of hearing him say like the advantage of being the number one seed, you get that week off. You can, get into practice. You can work on some things you've wanted to. You can just focus on yourselves and kind of get everybody healthy and ready, raring to go for the real season of the year. And he was saying, it'll be a tough turnaround for that team because they're going to have to play Friday night, get in, late, like very early Saturday morning, and have little turnaround time to play the Cavs on Sunday afternoon. And it kind of the NBA were gracious to whoever that 8th seed is and gave them the 48 hours of rest.
Yeah, selfishly, I wish it was earlier in the day. I mean, it's Easter Sunday, and I have to hang out with people, and it'd be a lot better if there was a distraction that, so nonetheless, I'm excited. I'm fine. It's, 7. The boys will be tucking in bed and I'll be able to watch it with any distraction. So that's good. I'm just ready for some playoff basketball. Them sending out, I'm not really nervous about it. Get healthy, get your mind right. That's what we need right now. And I think whoever we're going to play, they're going to learn. We're going to let them know, so.
Yeah, and people are like acting like this is like a new thing for this team to have this much time off. But last year when they were the 4 seed, like none of the playoff series started until all of the playing was done. Now they played on Saturday, so there was 6 days instead of 7 between the last time that you played. And for most of those guys on the team, yeah, they've had a couple extra days because they played in Indiana, did not play, or they played in New York and then didn't play at home against Indiana. Everybody's saying, well, Indiana, that's a team to look out for because they went 3-1 against you. Let's just be very clear. 2 of those 4 games were C to D teams that we put out there to rest our main starters. So really,
starters are last game. So
yes, I'm not saying like I'm overly confident or cocky. Like Indiana is a team to reckon with. We went 1-1 against them when both teams were as healthy as you can be and still fighting for positioning in the heart of the actual season. Right. Is there a team that you want to face or don't want to face here in the first round? Any team give you concern, or is it really just Cavs need to be the Cavs and not beat themselves?
I'm not concerned for a team to beat the Cavs. I would say I don't want to play the Hawks just because of Caris LeVert and Yang on that team. I as much as I like them and I would like to see them back on the court, it kind of hurt my feelings if the Cavs went out there and beat their butts and then progress without them. But I'm not, in terms of like afraid of a first round opponent. There's nobody out there who I'm afraid of really right now. I'm not trying to be cocky like you said, but I'm pretty confident all the way until the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not trying to throw series before series. You got to play the first game, but I've seen the talent of this team. I've seen the streaks that they've been on this year, and honestly, if they play the way that they have, maybe not the last month or two, especially behind the 3-point line with our guards, but just play as a team like they have guys step up when they need to, have guys off the bench, Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter off the bench coming off and don't skip a beat. I don't see a threat, especially in this first round.
And what's great or not great for some fans is the 2 days in between all of these, like the first 3 games. I think there's, you play on Sunday, then you don't play it again until Wednesday. Right. And it's not like the teams are traveling anywhere, but they still get 2 days off. And then you do get to travel between game 2 and game 3. And then there's a game 3 on Saturday. And then you start to kind of get every other day. But again, there's no back-to-backs in the playoffs, so you're always going to have at least a day to kind of recover, right, watch the film, make your adjustments. And I think that's really where this team and Coach Atkinson is going to, prove or leave questions about the move that was made. For everybody that was waiting for the playoffs to start, you're just a few days away. Like everybody said, this team was going to be judged on what they do in the playoffs. This team is telling you the same thing. So they understand the moment. Will they execute in that moment? That is another, that's the thing we have to see. How will they come out? If they are a little sluggish or rusty to start game 1, how do they adjust? Is it a quick timeout by Kenny Atkinson? You go down a quick 6-0, take a timeout, Everybody take a deep breath. Now we're back to actual live game action. We're not practicing against ourselves. This is game level speed. This is the playoffs. Let's kind of reset our minds. Those are the little moments that this coaching staff is going to make, help make or break this team. And then it's on the core four to show up. You can't have games where multiple people in the core four, like you can do without one of them having a big game, I would say, but you can't have two or three of the core four not at least living up to their averages.
Yeah, and I mean that's why Kenny Atkinson was brought here. We've been here before. We were here with JB Bickerstaff. JB was great, but he wasn't the guy to get us over the hump. Now it's time to put up or show up. Now it's time to get us over that hump. I'm not afraid, or I'm not nervous for the team. I am nervous, maybe a little individual. Like I'm nervous about Darius Garland, to be honest. I think he's my biggest question mark. I think he's the guy who's got the most to prove this postseason. And the last, he's had times where he's taken over, of course, but like that 3-point percentage has gone down, and it's making me nervous a little bit. I'm hoping that this time off is actually a good thing for him. He can get it, get his mind. I think it's just a mental thing. And I think Kenny's the guy that's going to help him. Kenny is, very personal with his players. Jared Allen has talked about that with his time in Brooklyn, and I think what he's done with Evan Mobley this year has been a testament to that as well. I just really think that Kenny's going to hold on to Darius and help him out here. I'm a little nervous, but I think if anyone can do it, he can do it. So,
well, we wouldn't be Cleveland fans if we weren't nervous
right.
about something, or
right.
nervous. As a fan watching playoff games, like I'm just a nervous wreck at all times, just because like that's just how it is. But it like having a chance to step back right now and look at it for what it is. I totally understand you talking about Darius Garland, and Darius Garland is going to have to answer a lot of questions as this, hopefully a playoff run continues. We get into bigger moments. How does he respond? How does Jared Allen respond? How does Evan Mobley respond in those moments? We know that Donovan Mitchell has the ability to go off. Now, his shot definitely went awry.
Sure.
I think what's good for Darius, and I thought about like how to compartmentalize all of this. That game against New York, where they had nothing on the line. It's the second night of a back-to-back. Some of your starters are playing because they don't want to lose a rhythm. That's
Right.
important right there. That's a little thing that shows you this team is at least focused going into this playoff run. That like these guys that are capable, they're healthy, they wanted to get out there and not lose game-like rhythm because they knew that they probably weren't going to play in the final game of the year. And it is still a hostile environment. New York was still kind of, somewhat teetering on their positioning in the playoffs as well. And a lot of their guys were playing. That the Cavs went down, I think 23 or 26 points in that game, and they end up coming all the way back and winning in New York. And I think that whatever mindset Darius got into it and then helped filter out to his teammates, he's gonna have to find a way. It's not going to be every game. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be every game in the playoffs.
And that's unexpected.
Yeah, because he doesn't have to be that every game, because like if he's off one game, all right, you got your other three, and you got these guys coming off the bench. Like that's what this depth was created for. Will the rotation shrink? I'm sure, but I never really saw Kenny Atkinson try to start shrinking the rotation as it was. So that might be something that they tinker with as they get into the first couple rounds of the playoffs, like getting into the higher levels, then shrinking it at that point. I feel like we're going to still see 9-10 guys playing, especially early, and then you adjust as you need to and figure out the guys that are going to match up better and the ones that may not be able to help you based on whichever team you're facing off against. But for Darius, like it's how can you, on as regular of a basis during this playoff run as possible, mimic that mindset and getting your team as the point guard into that mindset that they had in New York. Again, it was a game that didn't matter, and people may think, well, that you can just throw that away. They can't expect to be the team that can come back from 20 plus deficits and stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the effort that was given in that stretch to come back that you need to bring for as much of the 48 minutes as you possibly can.
Yeah, that's the moments I was talking about. It's like lightning in a bottle where he takes over and he can be that guy. He just needs to be much more consistent. And like you said, try to do it as many of those 48 minutes as you can.
What's crazy is, since we don't have a show next week, if we did a show next week, we would only have one playoff game to talk about, and then then the other playoff game would be happening as we were as we were getting the show going, and still wouldn't be done for another hour after we were done. So yes, it's going to be a long playoff run. We're just game by game. As I'm looking at myself in this camera right now, Ryan, and I'm telling myself game by game. I'm like, can't look too far ahead, can't get too high, too low. LeBron always said like the first game was always his feeling out process, and by like game two, what adjustments are you going to make, and how are you going to be a step ahead of your opponent, knowing what adjustments they might make against you to stay ahead of them and like adjust for those adjustments when you haven't even seen them in a game yet. Like that is the chess match that will go on in the playoffs, and we hoping for a good run in the playoffs. By the time we come back, there'll be maybe 3 games of the playoffs in. you know
Sure. Earlier you said, Kenny might rotate 9 or 10 guys. I think that these last few games at the end of the season were invaluable for that exact reason. I think that us getting to be able to rest our starters and giving that time to our guys where, they pretty much, only they get garbage time, or, Jalen Tyson's out there scoring a crap ton of points, and Imani Bates is hitting three upon three upon that. That's fun to see. You see the starters, pumping those guys up, and that's great experience. That's real game experience right before the playoffs. And if they do rotate 9 or 10 guys, or God forbid an injury or something, at least some of our guys have been in and seen, had a taste of something. So I think that's really cool and really smart, actually. So.
Well, we switched gears to the team that's just getting their season going, was in the playoffs last year and was looking to build on that this year. A lot of people, Ryan, having questions about the Guardians to start, as they started on the road trip 3-6, and then they come home, they win 5 of the 6 games at home. And, you win last night in Baltimore. I know that losing tonight with a big mistake, big bad inning for Gavin Williams in the second inning, giving up a grand slam to, I think Holiday is their number 8 hitter. But two easy walks given up. I want to get into Gavin here in just a second, but just overall, just early impressions of this team. I feel like this is what we're going to be going through with this young team to start, kind of this little back and forth, hovering right around 500 as they search for their identity, which we won't really know or shouldn't know for the least. Really take in about 40-45 games. That's me, at least.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they're playing as I expected. I didn't have a ton of expectations coming in. I know they're very young, and we've had the blessing or just the luck of having young teams with success recently. But that is unrealistic to sustain year after year. I'm not really. I mean, there are a little bit of concerns, but nothing. I think Clase is a concern of mine. That I've talked about it. Before the season, I still think he's relatively a concern. But we're young. We have some young guys hitting. I think Martinez is looking freaking awesome with his last few games. Stephen Kwan, we should give him a contract immediately. I mean, he's this guy might be an MVP one day, and that's saying something when we have Jose on our team. So not concerned. Like you said, they're looking for their identity. I think starting pitching definitely needs to bolster. Hopefully, I mean, fingers crossed with Shane Bieber can get with us sooner than later. But just going with the flow. And like I said, I think they'll be bobbing around 500 for a while. So
it's interesting you mentioned Stephen Kwan. Again, Stephen Kwan off to another great start. Through 6 innings tonight, though, the team does trail 4-1. Gabby Arias, who a lot of people had questions about, he has been hitting the cover off the baseball recently, seeing the ball pretty well over his last 7 games. I think the stat came up just before I jumped on here, Ryan. He was 8 of 15, 8 of his last 15 in the last 5 games with 3 home runs and 3 games with multi-hits, at least more than 1 hit in those games. So, again, it's early. Everybody's going to go through those ebbs and flows. Manzardo came out of the box red hot, and now he can't, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. And that's what's going to happen with this young team is they, pitchers are going to adjust to you. They're going to have game plans for you. You need to, in order to stay out of those long-term ruts at the plate, just like, and that's watching Jose Ramirez and what he does, is being able to almost be that half a step ahead. We just talked about the Cavs in the playoffs, making your adjustments and kind of understanding, all right, I'm doing this really well at the plate right now. Okay, let me talk to one of my pitchers and like how would you combat this if you're like Tanner Bybee, how would you combat this? Like I'm doing this well at the plate. And then like what would you not want to see from me? An adjustment from me. Like these conversations should happen
Right.
between, especially in a pitching factory like the Guardians. And I feel like those conversations do, but I love that you mentioned Stephen Kwan. And a lot of people are starting to talk about that, and the people in the know, they're saying that they're hearing that the Guardians are definitely open to extensions, like they have stuff on the table. Is it smart for Quan to like immediately jump at it right now? Like and in baseball, you're going to try to maximize your value.
Sure.
So he's going to probably conversations, and really to avoid any distraction, I don't know that you need to extend him. I would love to extend him right now. Let me just lay that out there.
Yeah.
I think logistically, I don't know that it makes sense to do it right now for anybody, or at least get into these deep rooted conversations that may separate you instead of bring you together in the middle of a season where the focus should be what you're doing at the plate and out there in the field.
Right. No, I was making more of a joke, like, hey, they should sign him. I didn't mean
Well, yeah, but
yeah.
But like it should be at the forefront of their mind, is like every general manager tells us, I have to put my team in the best position to win now, but also think about the future. That's something I think goes under the radar, or at least maybe we overlook. And look, we're going to criticize or have constructive criticism. We're going to have our thoughts against coaches, managers, front offices, all that kind of stuff, because we're in the now. Social media has brought us to, what have you done for me lately? That's why people were jumping off, kind of sky is falling, Chicken Little out there with the Guardians being 3-6. Totally understand all of that. But these GMs, like, they have to think about now and in the future. Like that's hard for me to comprehend when I just kind of break it down. Quan, I love that they're at least,
Right.
it's towards the front of the mind, and I think that's what you're saying with that, though.
Yeah, and it should be. I mean, he's a fan favorite. He's proven that he can sustain a high batting average, get on base. He's fantastic batting in the one spot, and he should be a Cleveland Guardian for his career. So.
Yeah, and hopefully we do see that. Now we got some pretty decent starts the last few games from our starting staff tonight. Again, Gavin Williams giving up the grand slam in the second inning. That's all he's kind of given up. Kramer for the Orioles was pitching very, very well. I don't have it on around me, so I can't see kind of how there's who's ever on the hill and stuff like that for both of these teams. But there's something that I noticed with Gavin that I want all of us, and Peter, you included, because I know how much of a baseball guy you are and a Indians Guardians fan that you are. As Gavin has a couple more starts, what I see is he likes to play around the edges. He likes to pitch around the edges. And when an umpire is calling a much tighter strike zone than like that low strike, that like high strike where you just kind of nick the zone, and these boxes on every single TV broadcast have kind of made all of us umpires or critics of umpires, because oh my gosh, like that looks like a strike, that's not a strike, like I don't understand what's happening type thing. And sometimes different umps have different what they're looking for. I don't know, I've never been trained on being an umpire, so but what I noticed tonight, and we'll like revisit this conversation in a couple weeks, he gets frustrated very early when an ump isn't calling what he expects to be a strike, and it affects him, and that's not a good thing. Like it, like that is something like you need to stay in the moment, stay where your feet are, as a lot of people have started to bring that phrase back up into conversation, and just make that next pitch instead of like now, like, oh my gosh, he's not calling the outside. So now let me overcompensate. And then you're throwing cheese over the plate, and guys are in the 8 hole are hitting home runs out. I want to like keep an eye on that. Like the frustration of a young pitcher, allowing it to get in his head. I'm very interested to see if that continues to happen.
Peter, you want to go?
Well, I mean, I think with any of the pitchers, right, especially young pitchers, you got to kind of learn. You know, he's still learning, and it is frustrating. I mean, I was watching the game the other day, and the umpire was consistently calling the balls at the top of the strike zone. You know, they should have been a strike, but they were called balls. And Kevin, you're right. We have the luxury of we see the square.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we see that on the TV, and it's, you know, all of a sudden we're all experts on, you know, the umpires, and you kind of forget how, you know, the umpire's looking at the ball coming across the plate, and he's got the catcher in front of him. And I think, you know, a young pitcher like Gavin's got to, or as Jay would call him, Galvin, would you know, he has to learn, you know, to get over that. You know, you're right.
Yeah.
It's frustrating that you're not getting the calls that you want, but hopefully he'll, you know, adjust to that and can, you know, continue to get better. I mean, it's so early in the season,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as long as we continue to stay around 500, hopefully a little bit over 500, you know, I'm not going to worry. It's when you get these slumps early in the season where all of a sudden, you know, you're playing catch up for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
That's when I start to worry a bit. Like right now, I think they're getting things kind of shook out, and I expect, well, every year I expect a lot from this team. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Every year I expect them to you know, get into the playoffs. So because I've seen the talent that our front office puts together, and barring, you know, injuries or anything like that you know, you can't control, I expect them to do well.
And that's the mark of a great organization. Someone like that has built that expectation in a league where teams like the Guardians shouldn't contend as often as they do. Like, you know, the money that is being spent, and people are really starting to take notice of this. Like it used to be, you know, it used to be frowned upon if you ever brought up like the whole notion of a salary cap in baseball. Well, the gap between like the teams that can spend the most versus the ones that really can't. Now, can some of those teams spend more based on like who's in charge and stuff? Those conversations, we know we always have those here in Cleveland and all of that, but the gap is getting wider.
Right.
Like, so it's starting to become on the radar, and when they get into that collective bargaining agreement. But the fact that, Peter, you're expecting playoffs every year, that again, that's the mark of a great organization with great people. And the biggest thing, and there's compliments I can give to the Dolan family, the plenty of them. The biggest one I can give, Ryan, is they let the baseball people do baseball things. Do they give them all the tools? Again, those are all the question marks, like the resources. That's
limit them significantly,
but they let the baseball people, with the resources that they have, make the baseball decisions in a baseball way.
yeah, and that's the most important thing. I think that's a testament to the success that we've had. The perennial every year, you know, we've had, like you said, the pitching bullpen, the pitching machine just continues to come and come. You know, eventually, once they're really good at realizing when those guys are probably at the end and getting new assets as well. So I love that they stay out of the way and just let Chris Antonetti and his boys do their thing. I think that's really cool. So.
And I'm learning as I get older. Like you have to, you know, as people say, like let the Guardians do what they do, because they know what they're doing. they sometimes they have to make tough decisions and ones that we don't necessarily like because of the limited resources that they are given. And imagine a guy like Chris Antonetti with even like with Dodger money, how he could actually like allocate that money and to the right baseball people, baseball players, building the right culture in a clubhouse like that. I mean, I'm learning not to question like everything until I give it time before I immediately react to something. Like I immediately reacted to Andres Gimenez. Absolutely hated that trade. Now I've given it time. Really hate that trade.
Yeah.
Really hate that trade because again, there was a lot of everybody told me, Ryan, and I don't know if you heard the same thing, but they told me like let the offseason play out. Like let's see what they do now with some money to kind of like repurpose, whether it's re-signing guys, like signing to extension. Tanner Bobby did get that extension, and like what other like little pieces can they bring in? Well, they truly went to the young route and are allowing these young guys to and their prospects to become big leaguers. Angel Martinez, boy oh boy, that's a guy that this organization found.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, he's not going to hit 500
But right now I'm loving it. So
yeah, but like that's a guy that is making the case to stay here instead of being brought back down. Took advantage of an injury opportunity to be brought up to the big league club, has been with the big league club and sent back, kind of like what Jose did. Like brought up, didn't really have so much success, went back down, came up and stayed there. Angel Martinez is another example where as Lane Thomas is getting back in the fold and these guys, I don't see how you can put Angel Martinez back down in the minors. I don't.
Right. Like you said, they have a great way of finding. I mean, Oscar Gonzalez a few years ago who came up, made up. They just find these guys who have an opportunity. Usually it's because of an unfortunate injury or something, but nonetheless, they get their time to shine and they shine. And it's exciting. He's young, like you said, he's not going to bat 500 all the time, but he is fun to watch. He's electric and kind of like that Oscar Gonzalez, like his walk-up song with SpongeBob. He looks like a guy who kids could love for a long time. So I think that's really important, especially in a game like baseball. So.
And he was brought up as an infielder that's now being transitioned to an outfielder or learning the outfield game. And he's making plays that, sometimes even veteran outfielders don't necessarily make, or they make, it looks even more difficult. He makes it look easy. He's only been doing that for 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's with jumping around to the different levels of the minors and the big leagues. So the biggest thing that this organization to take that next step, and if you're going to do it with a young core group of players, taking off that 75 plus year drought of a World Series, the way you're going to do that is a guy like Oscar Gonzalez. Is Oscar Gonzalez the good side more than just 1 year and a flash in the pan?
Right.
Guardians seem to have that more than like the consistency. So as they develop these players, like help them take that next step. They've got the skills, help them bring it out and show it at the big league level and not just be a one-hit wonder.
For sure. For sure.
There's guys that are going to try to go to the NFL that don't want to be one-hit wonders or a flash in the pan. They want long, consistent careers. And sometimes, Ryan, those guys come out of the later rounds and undrafted free agents, rookie free agents that just, again, they get their opportunity and they make it very difficult for a coach to go back to another player that's just not producing. You've been talking about a lot of those. This is our final night for at least 2025. I'm sure we can probably jump into this much earlier as we get into the college football season next year. Some guys to really start looking at. But you got 2 tonight, and I want to start before we get into a little bit of Browns talk with your first Ryan's diamond in the rough here tonight.
Yeah. Do you want offensive player or defensive player? I'll let you choose.
Let's go defense first, because I think since we're going to bookend this football talk with these 2 guys, let's go defense first and then really end with a bang with those weapons that you want out there on the field.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So my first diamond in the rough. His name is Noel Williams, cornerback out of Cal. For my first cornerback for this, I'm really excited about this guy. 6 foot, 199, and ran a 4.5 40. He's a 4-star prospect out of California. He played mainly outside man and press cornerback in college. 2020, he was a freshman at UNLV and started 5 games, had 25 tackles, 1 interception, and 1 pass defended. 2021, he started 10 games, 33 tackles, an interception, and 4 passes defended. 2022, 11 games, 40 tackles, a tackle for a loss, 3 interceptions, 5 passes defended, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. 2023, he transferred to Cal. At Cal, he played 13 games, had 53 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 interceptions, 6 passes defended, 1 forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries for a touchdown. And then he actually played another year because of the COVID year. So he got another year of eligibility. In 2024, this past year, 13 games, 52 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 7 interceptions, 1 pick six, 9 passes defended, and 1 forced fumble. So in his career, he had 203 tackles. He had 14 interceptions, 25 passes defended, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries for a touchdown, and a pick six. He also had 27 career kick returns for 650 yards and a touchdown, average 24.1 yard per return. So pretty good player. Really, really ball hawk. He's great in coverage. He was a 2024 All ACC honor as well. His strengths, he has really, really incredible instincts, I noticed. He can make plays and create turnovers. He had 14 interceptions, so that's a testament to that. Very physical with press coverage and can be very disruptive to receivers as well. Very smart. He's great at recognizing routes. He shows tremendous patience and discipline. He can maintain vision on the receiver and the quarterback at the same time, which is hard to do. He's very, very smart, great vision. He improved each season, and his instincts, like I said, they stand out the most to me. Weaknesses, he is pretty slow at transitions and reactions. I think that's due to his footwork. His feet are a bit choppy and bouncy, so instead of planting and taking off, he takes a couple steps to go, which really kind of slows him down, especially when he's backpedaling. His hips are really hard to flip, especially when someone's going vertical. So that's his biggest thing, is he's got to work on his footwork and his really getting his hip around and going. He's not the fastest guy, so he can be vulnerable to double moves by wide receivers at times because his hips are, they kind of – sometimes he flips them too soon and shows his cards because he's anticipating someone going really deep. So he is easy to get cut off or someone make a double move. So that's a big concern. And when he gets beat, he has to rely on physicality as well instead of, being in position. So that can open himself up to penalties. Think of Igbinosun for Ohio State. And this guy at least turns his head. Iggy doesn't really turn his head, but he relies on his physicality. His tackling also can be a bit inconsistent. He missed 19.4% of his tackles in college. I'm sorry, in 2023, not in college. But nonetheless, he's a ball hawk. 14 interceptions. This guy, I think he can be something in the NFL. I think he'll probably be a 4th-round pick with upside. But I would be happy with him on my team. I really like his stuff. His film shows that he's more than an athlete. And I think he's faster on the field than what he's tested as well. A 4.5. Yeah, but he's got really good lateral quickness as well. So I think on the field he runs pretty fast.
What's going to be so cool is hearing some of these names kind of come up on day 3 or when teams announce their unrestricted rookie free agents that they sign to their teams and to come in for an opportunity in their mini camps and stuff. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be cool to kind of hear some of these names. What really threw me, and it's just I feel like I have to keep being reminded. You said he was, he got ACC honors.
Yep.
He's at Cal, and it's just man, this whole realignment is just
so
absolutely nuts. But we'll get another one as we on the other side of our football talk here. But again, great Great information there, and you might be at some point down the line here. If you keep doing this, you might be challenging. Who is it? Dane Brugler with the Beast.
I don't know. Yeah, right. No, I don't know. I get stuck by a paywall, unfortunately, so I can't watch it or read it. But I don't know. I like doing it. It's hard to do. I put in some time. I probably do it way slower than the experts, but it's fun. So I enjoy doing it. So
shout out to one of my buddies in the business who we were at Ohio Media School together, Mac Robinson, and he and I know he's at 92.3 right now and working with the Browns radio network during games. As an engineer and stuff. So I always see him in the background of the videos from inside the the play-by-play booth, wherever it is, and you just see him making his real reactions. But back in 2018, the year that we drafted Baker and Denzel,
right.
that was the time frame. I was 2 months into my sports emphasis program, and they offered to sports emphasis kids and the regular radio, TV, broadcast, and the overall the general program. They offered all of us that were interested in sports a chance to go out to a restaurant. Now we ended up at some very nice Italian restaurant on the west side. It was we were in a back room, and I could see through the curtain that they tried to pull us past us, people out in the dining area. Why are they interrupting my dinner with these reactions when it's nice and quaint, that kind of vibe that you get, you don't want to be disturbed and stuff, a very I mean, it's a bad way to describe it probably, but romantic type vibe, the lights have come down. Yeah. So, and someone brought their 55-inch TV, and we have propped up in a corner. There's no way to really put it up to watch, but again, we're students, so this is that was a great learning experience. Matt comes in with, I forget who else did a big thing of all the prospects, but he had 3 binders, not just one, but 3 binders of 3 different guys, including the Beast from Dane Brugler, with all of the sheets printed out and everything like that. And because this dude, he was definitely into it, and I can tell something that you love doing. So we'll have to find a way to kind of keep something like that going as we keep the show going.
I'm already studying 2026 players anyway, so just for fantasy purposes. So
absolutely, yeah. And if there's a fantasy way to kind of break stuff down, we can definitely do that as we get into these seasons as well. But I feel like we've avoided it for 42 minutes.
Sure.
And it's not because I don't want to talk about it. I'm so glad that it's just about a week away, so we can talk about what happened, not what people are projecting to happen.
Right.
Before we get into where everybody has now settled for at least a few days in a row, more so than we've seen the last couple months. Joe Flacco returning. What was your reaction to that? Do you like the move? Should they have done it much sooner in this process, or do you feel like that is a good guy to add to this quarterback room this year?
Yeah, I think they're waiting on guys like Russ. They brought Russ into the building. I didn't really expect Russ to choose Cleveland or Cleveland to choose Russ, but nonetheless, I think they were looking at other options, especially with Joe Flacco with only $4 million on his contract to 1 year. It's not a huge commitment, and that's something that we needed, especially with our cap situation right now. Same thing with Kenny Pickett, who's got a young guy with low money with a couple years left. I think he's a great fit. We already know he's a locker room guy. We already know that he. With the number 1 receiver, he had Amari Cooper, and they did great things together. Amari Cooper's still a free agent, by the way, just saying. But I think him and Judy, if Flacco wins, what's that? I know. I signed Judy every day. Signed Chubb. I'm over this. Just give him a contract. Dude's ready.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited for Flacco. Does he move the needle for me? I think no matter who, this is bad, but no matter who we bring in, whether it's through free agency, through the draft, this year is a wash year. I think this year will be very similar to 2024 season. I think we'll be picking top 5 again, and that's not an awfully bad thing with this upcoming quarterback class. I know obviously Manning and Nico are the big names right now, but there's some other guy. I mean, Drew Aller has another year, and he's had no receivers, so they're bringing some guys in for him, especially with this portal open. There's Lenore Sellers out of South Carolina. There's a lot of guys. Cade Klubnik. There's the dude out of LSU. There's quarterbacks out there. I'm not saying that, if they decide not to go Shedeur or trade back up into the first or whatever they decided, say they don't go quarterback early, I'm not necessarily worried, because I know a lot of people say don't punt it down the road, but I think the juice has to be worth the squeeze. I've been saying that for a while. I know a lot of people are like, dude, you're not going to know until you take the quarterback. We haven't really taken the quarterback with this pick, and I'm tired of talking about it. I'm so tired of arguing with people. I mean, none of us can control what they're going to do, and they're going to do it regardless. And we're just going to have to accept it or stop being fans. So it's all speculation. It's all hearsay. And I, for once, I'm just ready for this to be over. I'm excited to see who they get. Hopefully, I personally want Travis Hunter first, then Abdul Carter. And then if neither of those guys, then trade back. But I'm not the GM. Andrew Berry is, and he's going to make his decision whether or not we want Sanders, Carter, or Hunter, or whoever. So
it takes a skill with everybody that we have here in town, front offices, coaches that do a great job of saying a lot with saying very little. Like to pick out things that they're saying, and something that I didn't pick up on, but like again has been brought to my attention. So like a way to learn, like, okay, like when I'm actually listening to a press conference, like let me listen to everything. It's almost like you gotta hear the nuggets that are that are hidden. It's like Easter eggs in a movie, in a Marvel movie. Like you got to be very vigilant and listen back and go back and watch it several times.
Right.
It feels like Stefanski and Barry are already getting a mulligan when you're saying like 2025 feels like a wash year for figuring out the quarterback. And you and I have been on like opposite sides, but like not like upset about it or anything like that. Like like we debate, we talk about it, where I say like until you have the quarterback, like until that guy is in your building, you don't have anything. But again, like I also understand like you can really be on both of these sides, people. Like you don't have to just say like one side and like yell at people and be mad at them and all that kind of stuff. If they don't love a guy, like stick to your convictions. If Travis Hunter is that guy, and like you have Shedeur with a bunch of the other guys, and you're still going to take a quarterback, but you have them all rated very closely, and maybe you have one that you like that people are saying like, why isn't it Shedeur? Well, if they're all rated closely in your building, like that's their decision. Do we always have to agree with it? Can we question like, well, why is your evaluation of this guy this when it should be this? That's all we're doing in this whole draft process. So, like that's still going to continue after the draft. And like again, I'm over it. They're gonna do what they're gonna do what they're gonna do. And I love, I do like the move to bring Joe Flacco back. It's little money. It's a guy that the locker room can get behind, and people have brought this up. It's like another step in Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski admitting the mistakes that they made going into last year. While understandable, they put all their eggs into the Deshaun Watson basket. Tried to change the offense for him. Tried to bring in guys for him. Try to set things up so like he could have all the success in the world. You change all these things that were working for so long, or at least leading to some success for Kevin Stefanski out there on the field, and then you tear it all down, and now they're like, okay, we're bringing back Joe Flacco. We probably shouldn't have let him go off in another spot last year. We probably should have had him for another year. And as we were like looking for that next guy, and like having this wash year last year than this year. So all of that is taken into account. If Travis Hunter is the pick, like has become the consensus over the last few days, Ryan, great. Like that is a talented dude who I think has his head on right.
Yeah.
What did you make of his comments to CBS? I know that they're like never really saw a video of it, but the comments that like I may not want to play football if I don't get a chance to play on both sides of the ball in the NFL.
I get what he's saying, and I think that him being taken that high, I mean, if he's strictly, say they drafted to be a wide receiver, second overall. That's the first one since Calvin Johnson that early. I mean, that's a generational talent. I think this guy is going to be utilized on both sides of the ball because it'd be dumb not to. He might not be. Some are saying he's the best receiver in this draft, and some are saying he's the best prospect they've seen in the past. Like Mel Kiper said, he's the best prospect he's ever seen, which is insane.
Since John Elway. Elway.
Yeah, right. Crazy. So yeah. And then Matt Harmon, who's on Reception Perception, he's the receiver guy, also saying he would take him right there with Malik Neighbors, who was last year. Malik Neighbors would be a top 3 receiver in the draft. I think a top 3 receiver this year. I do not have a problem with. I think he'll play receiver. I think he'll play certain packages on defense. I don't have a problem with it. He's shown that he can do it. The guy has the conditioning of a marathon runner from Africa. Crazy. He is so fit, this guy. And I think he can do it. Durability is a little concern for me. He's not huge. But the things he can do with that ball in his hand, and that guy is a ball hawk on both sides. I do want to take him. I like him a lot. I think even without a quarterback throwing to him, I think that this guy's still going to have 1,000-yard season in his rookie year. And that's not that crazy, especially with, the extended seasons now, more games. I'm excited for him. If they do, I've been saying for, months, I do not want Sanders. If they do draft Sanders, I've said it on Twitter, I'll say it here, I'm going to root for him. I don't care if I don't want him. It doesn't matter. He's now a Cleveland Brown, and I'm going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give the guy a chance. I'm not going to, piss vinegar draft night and say why that. No, cool. Let's get to work, buddy. Like, whatever. I don't think it'll be him. I think it'll be a mistake if they get him. But nonetheless, I'm a Browns fan, and I have no control. Why would I pretend to have control?
And you hear a lot of people say, like, it would be, easier to have Hunter focused mainly on cornerback and, like, easier to sprinkle him in at the wide receiver spot. And yet, a couple months ago, Andrew Berry said that he was one of the few people saying he liked his wide receiver skills. Like, he rated that higher than his cornerback skills, and still loved his cornerback skills. So, like, again, one of those little nuggets that, like,
right.
Oh my gosh, like, why weren't we focusing on this a little bit more? If he does end up being the pick with everybody kind of jumping on him, can things change? Absolutely. I mean, I feel like there was when the Cavs took Anthony Bennett number 1 that one night, like, I feel like there were many other guys that people were saying that they were going to take at number 1. Anthony Bennett was nowhere near the conversation. And then as draft night approached and you're getting, like, within hours of it, people started saying, guys, a name to look out for, Anthony Bennett, like,
Right.
and it ended up happening. So, like, things can continue to evolve and change. I love I try to separate the two, but when great quotes are brought up and I hear them at work at ESPN Cleveland, like, they just resonate with me. And Tyvis Powell was filling in on Cleveland Browns Daily today, with Bo Bishop, and he said, while he agrees with Bo and Nathan, as they've been kind of talking about, you need to go quarterback, like, number 2 has to be the quarterback. He said, like, if you're going to go quarterback at that point of the draft, like, it needs to be an elite level talent. Are there question marks about everybody? Is anything a guarantee in any sort of draft? No, but if you're going to go to that level, like, you need to be convicted that that's an elite. You have an elite quarterback that is coming into your building. If not, if you can't get in this draft, people are now saying there's only one guy that can be like that in Cam Ward. If you don't have a chance to get that guy, you don't have to even have that opportunity. Go for the elite talent, because you can never have enough of that. And that's why he said that he loved Travis Hunter. And I don't know why, but, like, that quote just kind of stuck with me. Like, okay, I would understand that pick. I love Travis Hunter, love what he can do. And, if we're gonna wash this year on the quarterback, or we're gonna pick a guy a little bit later, even if it's trading up to the end of the first round to get him, so that you have that 5th year of control on them for a first round contract, but has a chance to sit behind Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, and is part of the competition, but isn't necessarily expected. If you take Shedeur at number 2, you know what the expectation is from fans.
Yeah.
And if you trot out Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett, it'll probably be a little bit longer of a leash for Flacco with the fans than Pickett. If you trot them out and they start to, throw interceptions, not have much success, very quickly the sounds just like that Thursday night.
Yeah.
When the Browns were still looking for their first win and to unlock the Bud Light fridges and all that kind of stuff. Who were they chanting for? And I was there, and like you just like heard it rise like a crescendo in the stadium. Like it was an experience unlike any other I've ever seen.
I'm gonna cry, Kevin.
I know.
They screwed up our team, Kevin.
Yes, I know.
Sorry.
I still have it. I'm like looking at the I'm looking at the jersey I bought that year, or like 2020. I'm never getting rid of it though, because like people can yell at me if you want to. I'm never getting rid of my Baker jersey because I bought the Color Rush jersey in the COVID year when they brought out the new uniforms, or those Color Rush uniforms, and they said all of the proceeds, the first round of all the jerseys, all the proceeds were going to first responders in the COVID era. I have no issues with it, and I mean, even if it wasn't donated money, I still wouldn't have an issue with having that jersey still in my closet. Oh man, Tampa.
Funny Baker things in my man cave. Also, he just turned 30, so happy birthday, Baker. That's lame.
Yeah, happy birthday to Baker. Let's go to your other guy that we want to talk about on offense, because we could do probably like 5 different shows if we kept talking draft. Even though we don't want to, like that's how much information we could still talk about. I want to make sure we get your other Ryan's diamond in the rough here.
Yeah. All right. So last was 2 weeks ago, I said that Desmond Watson, the defensive tackle out of Florida, the 400-pound fast guy, was my number 1 player, my favorite player I've done. But I think this guy actually trumps him, and I'm excited about it. All right. This guy's name is Cam Miller. He played quarterback at North Dakota State University. 6'1", 213, and ran a 4.8 40 time. He was a 3-star quarterback out of Iowa in 2020. 2020, he started 8 games, including 2 FCF playoff games. 2021, he started the final 8 games of the season, passing for 1,444 yards and 14 touchdowns, rushed 69 times for 280 yards and 4 touchdowns, and won the NCAA Division I Football National Championship that year. 2022, his junior year, he started 15 games, 1,975 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 560 rushing yards, and 15 rushing touchdowns. 2023, 15 games, 2,688 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 629 rushing yards, and 13 rushing touchdowns. 2024, he's granted another year of eligibility. A lot of these guys are because of the COVID year. So he got to play this last year as well. He had 16 games, 3,251 yards, 33 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 631 rushing yards, and 12 rushing touchdowns. He broke records for most completions at 258 and passing yards in a season for North Dakota State University, previously held by Carson Wentz, who was taken 2nd overall. And he won the national championship again this past year. So he has 2 national championships, and he was the MVP this past year. So
as soon as you said Cam Miller, like the image went exactly like immediately to those green and yellow uniforms in the dome in North Dakota State. Like I know I haven't known the names, and I feel bad for these guys that you brought up throughout this process that I haven't known them. But like that's the whole point of this,
right?
But like, I love that you're bringing up this kid because it's someone that like when I would watch those FCS playoff games, like I was just drawn to him. Not saying like like that's the quarterback I want and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying like just like a guy from an FCS schools that you root for, and hopefully he gets an opportunity.
Yeah. So his career, he started 56 games, 9,720 yards, 81 touchdowns with 19 interceptions, 2,277 rushing yards and 48 rushing touchdowns, and 2 national championships with 1 national championship MVP. Great career.
Yes.
Crazy career. Obviously, the level of competition is different, but nonetheless, that's some accolades right there.
Yeah.
His strengths, he is one of the smartest QBs that I've seen. I'm very new with QBs. I'm learning how to study them, but he is very intelligent. He can decode coverages pre-snap and has a high level of diagnostic and mental process skills, which is very important, especially at the position. His footwork is fantastic. I saw no wasted motion in his setup for both under center and shotgun snaps. He moves great in the pocket. He can move laterally and climb skillfully while maintaining his base, which is really important because, yeah, some guys can move in the pocket. I'm going to say Shedeur. Shedeur, when he gets pressure, he goes backwards. He does not step up in the pocket. That's one of my huge things with Shedeur is if he sees pressure, he's going to lose 7 yards unless he can make a play. This guy steps up, and not only does he step up, he can move laterally, and he maintains that frame, so he's ready to launch that ball off. Good ball placement between the hashes and hits his receiver in strides and throws with really good anticipation, and he's a winner. Those are my strengths. His weaknesses, his level of competition obviously is the first thing that comes to mind. Could be a major learning curve in the NFL. I mean, he didn't even play against the Purdue, he played against FCS schools, like you said.
Yeah.
Limited arm strength. He can throw on throws to the boundary. He's great inside the hashes, but outside the boundary, he struggles a little bit to be more accurate. Sometimes, as smart as he is, he can get stuck on his primary read when the defense disguises coverage. So they say they show cover 2 and then switch to cover 3. Sometimes he's like crap and he just goes to his first read. His size is a concern. I think the balls will get batted occasionally at the NFL level, just at 6'1", regardless of his durability. He never got hurt, but regardless of durability, I think he's just not super tall. So that's a concern as well. But I do think he'll be an instant backup in the league with a lot of room to grow. I think he's smart enough to step in and operate an NFL offense immediately. He's going to learn that like it's nothing. I really think that he just has a really high ceiling. I think he's a late day 3 pick or undrafted free agent. Unfortunately, I think the NFL has kind of learned with the 2nd overall pick in that school with Trey Lance and Carson Wentz. And I mean, they're 4 inches taller as well. But nonetheless, I think this guy is going to be he's going to be in the NFL for a long time, whether that's a backup and hopefully eventually he's smart enough to where he can earn a starting spot and maybe not, I don't know, be coached up and work on those limitations, especially outside the hash mark. And his size is, he can't really work on that, but he can work on the hash mark. So
yeah,
but I do like him a lot. His college film's fun to watch. Go back and watch some of those games. His national championship games are really, especially this last one, was a lot of fun to watch. He's a beast. We'll see. I don't know if it'll translate in the NFL, but that's why I find these guys. So.
And I do like, the weakness. One of the weaknesses you bring up is like balls being batted down the line. Like that feels like that's always like a hot topic of conversation here in town here in Cleveland with our quarterbacks. Like it seems like, we get like the shorter quarterbacks and they get the balls batted all the time. But, that also comes down to film study and being able to, like, if your team is trying to help you move the pocket, adjusting to that. If the team's trying to give you the avenue to have success, it's a two-way street where the players have to take that as well. And, I see bigger quarterbacks get the balls batted down too, because you got like 350-pound defensive tackles like jumping out of their shoes to knock balls down. So like that's always that can always happen. But it does happen more often with the shorter guys, as they're shorter than their offensive linemen and having difficulty trying to see as they throw up and over.
Right.
The offensive line.
I mean, there's guys like Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. Not some of these guys aren't tall, but they're smart enough to get over those limitations. And I think this guy could be one of those guys as well. And I mean, he's not the fastest. He ran a 4.8, but the guy had 48 rushing touchdowns in his career and over 2,000 rushing yards. That's nothing to scoff about as well. So he's
got
pretty
some
versatile.
wiggle.
So
got some wiggle,
right? For sure.
So, thank you so much, Ryan. Again, we'll find a way to allow you to kind of continue to exercise that passion here on the show. Before we get out of here, of course, we'll remind you about the contest. Thank you so much to Greenies for that contest. We'll announce that on social media. But we said in the title, playoffs, baseball, draft, soccer, we talk it all. And I do want to bring up soccer just
Yeah.
real quick. I know that we're a little bit over time, but unfortunately, the Crunch did lose in the championship over the weekend. But the reason why that hurts as much as it does is because the championship culture and standard that they have set, and that is the ultimate best thing to have as an organization, is to have that type of culture and mindset every single year. Like if you don't win at all, like it's not good. It's not good enough, and they understand that. They're going to retool, restructure, all of those types of things, and come back. But the greatest thing is that MLIS, that league is going to grow. There's new teams coming in. There's a team in Vegas. I think there's a team in Utah. Possible. There's some other teams in the wings waiting, and a lot of parity was built this year. A team that in Amarillo won the championship. Congrats to the Amarillo Bombers for winning the MLIS championship once again. That's a team that was in the second place in the league the entire year, but they didn't get a chance to play everybody. And people were, thinking, can they match up with the strong team from Toronto, Canada, and Cleveland, and some of these teams up here they didn't get a chance to travel to? Well, they could. They
Yeah.
absolutely could. I want to give a huge shout out to Peter, his entire team with LPV Productions. Jim Wagner was out there, his son Jacob. We had Spencer and Peter. I'm forgetting. I don't know, Max. We had all on cameras. Such a great team. Put on the best show ever. And all the fans that came out to the Wolstein Center too. I think there was like 4,000 on the championship night. They had 3,000 by the time the Crunch played on Friday night in the semifinal. Pretty good showing for the women's final on Saturday too. So soccer is here in Cleveland, and there is definitely a base for it. And none of that broadcast to send it out to as many people as possible on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday couldn't happen without Peter and his entire team. And it was just top of the class. And there's a reason why Peter is got the comments he did from the commissioner, Bernie. Such great comments that he had, and just tremendous feedback that the commissioner got on people that were watching the stream. So thank you so much, Peter. Of course, a big match coming to Cleveland this Saturday. The only two unbeaten teams. Yes, they've tied in some matches, but the only two teams without a loss to their record in MLS will face off at Huntington Bank Field on Saturday. Fingers crossed Messi is going to be a part of that squad for Inter Miami, but it's Inter Miami versus a Columbus Crew. I may have a job role on that day, so keep an eye on social media. Maybe have an update on that before Saturday.
Nice.
That's going to be an absolute blast, and it was announced today by the Cleveland Pro Soccer Group. We've had their people on the show before, and we're going to continue to support them and do whatever we can. That I know they didn't get the NWSL team, but one of those next tier leagues, WPSL, will be coming to Cleveland in 2026, and they are expediting the process to get shovels in the ground for that 10,000 seat soccer stadium just around the corner from Progressive Field and Rocket Arena, that can expand to, I think, piece by piece, I think to like 13,000 and possibly like 20,000 seats as years go. So soccer is also at the forefront of conversation here in town too, and I want to make sure we got that up.
Definitely. Thank you. Congrats to them too, taking second. That's really awesome. It's unfortunate they, couldn't get that championship, but second is nothing to look down upon for sure. And they'll be there again next year. So
yeah, and
hopefully,
that's the standard, and that's what you want, and that's what we see in the Crunch. That's what we're seeing, how the Cavs operate and how the Guardians operate. Like that is the contending for championships. That is what the standard is, and that's what all the moves are made to do. I know that the Browns have the same mindset. Let's start to execute on that actual plan and move forward and make football decisions for a football team to try to contend. Being the team that's an hour north of where football was invented and the Pro Football Hall of Fame stands, the ultimate team stands in Canton, Ohio. Let's get Northeast Ohio football from high school all the way to the pro level. Let's keep it on the map at the highest levels.
Yep.
Ryan, one final time. I know our contest to win VIP tickets to the Great Lakes Convention, the big show for Greeny Sports Cards. Tell people how they can enter one final time before we head out for the night.
Yeah, go on Twitter at VTL_pod. It's our pinned tweet. Go on there, follow us, follow at Greeny Sports. Just the rules are there as pinned, and then tag somebody, and you're entered to win. You get 2 VIP tickets, a chance to win those. I think we're giving away 5 total pairs of tickets, and this will be in about 10 days. It's not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, and you're not going to want to miss it. There's a lot of really cool stuff, really a lot of cards, memorabilia, autograph items. I'm sure bobbleheads, a bunch of other stuff. Really cool spot, and you just need to go check it out. There's gonna be a lot of tables, and you have a chance to win it for free. Just go on our Twitter.
Yep. Reach out, greensportscards.com, get all the information on that, and we will announce those. I know, Ryan, you'll probably DM the people that win. We make selections from the group, kind of try to have like a text conversation and selecting people, and
Sure.
then we'll make a big announcement on Twitter to next week, even though we don't have a show. Again, no show next week, but on social media, we will make sure we congratulate those people properly that win those tickets. And, hopefully that generates some FOMO for people and that continues to get people out to Greeny Sports Card shows, because they're always packed, just like their monthly shows at the Kirtland Senior Center. That parking lot, I see pictures all the time. That parking lot gets packed, and that's 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So, doing a lot of great things there with Greeny Sports Cards. Thank you so much to Ryan Mosser, our producer extraordinaire, Peter Tellup. For all of our sports fans out there, I'm Kevin R. reminding all of you, don't let anyone ever tell you it's just a game. We truly love you all, 3,000. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Sign Nick Chubb.
Sign Nick Chubb, and live life, all gas, no brakes. We'll see you next time right here on the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network and Be On Air Podcast Network.